The linen tablecloth must be perfect. I run my palms along its surface, straightening each corner until it hangs with flawless precision. The bouquet in the center is the final touch, fresh, symmetrical, convincing. This one-bedroom apartment, neat and neutral, performs exactly as I need it to, a stage set for my mother's occasional inspections. Nothing more. My phone buzzes across the counter. Adrien. The sight of his name warms me. Hey, I answer, smiling into my voice. I'm just finishing up. I'll be there in about an hour. His reply comes in a rush, breath uneven. Nicole, we've got a problem. A chill snakes through me. What kind of problem? Oliver called your mother. Adrien's voice drops to a whisper. He used your phone? She answered. They talked. Nearly 10 minutes before I caught it. The vase slips from my hands. It shatters against the floor, water spilling across my socks, glittering shards scattering like panic itself. What? My voice is barely air. I'd gone to the bathroom, he explains quickly. When I came back, he was talking to her. He said she was Grandma Vivian. I grabbed the phone, but she'd already hung up. 6 years of careful construction flashed before my eyes. 6 years of 2 addresses, 2 lives, 1 truth buried beneath polite lies. 6 years of inventing reasons why Adrien never came to Connecticut for Christmas. Why my apartment was always photo-ready but empty. And now, undone by a curious 5-year-old who simply wanted to introduce his grandmother to his dinosaur collection and his new tutu. What exactly did he tell her? I ask, voice tightening as my mind races through contingencies. Please, Adrien, did he mention the house? I'm not sure. I heard him say something about his dinosaurs and his tutu. Then I took the phone, but it was too late. I call my mother immediately. Straight to voicemail. That familiar knot forms low in my stomach, the same one that used to twist whenever she inserted herself into my life, dismantling everything she disapproved of. I can still hear the echoes from college, the relentless questions about my boyfriend James, her surprised drop-ins, the gentle poison of her doubts until he finally walked away, convinced he'd never be enough. Meeting Adrien had been the antithesis of that chaos, quiet charm. Genuine kindness, interest in my nonprofit work rather than my pedigree. I'd sworn that night at the museum fundraiser that my mother had the chance to ruin this one. I'd build walls high enough to keep her out forever. 6 years of hiding, I whisper. Gone in 10 minutes. I hang up with Adrien and dial Rebecca, the only person at work who knows my truth. She answers on the second ring. Nicole? Rebecca, I need you to get to my real house. Warn Adrien. My mother might already be on her way. I pace the small apartment, glass crunching underfoot. Slow down. What happened? Oliver called her. She knows about him. Maybe about Adrien too. Just go, please. There's a pause. Then Rebecca's voice sharpens with urgency. Nicole, she already called the office. 20 minutes ago. Said it was a family emergency and asked for your address. The world tilts. My carefully separated identities, the Connecticut daughter and the Seattle wife, start collapsing into one. Did you give it to her? Of course not. I told her I'd check with you first. A beat of silence. Maybe, Nicole, it's time to stop running. I hang up before I can answer. Grabbing my purse, I leave the ruined vase where it fell. The drive to the craftsman house with the blue door feels endless. Each mile is another replay of every possible confrontation, every argument rehearsed and discarded. 20 minutes later, I pull into the driveway. Adrien is waiting in the doorway with Oliver at his side. Our son wears his favorite dinosaur shirt and the bright green tutu, he insists, matches it perfectly. His curls spring wildly, his grin unshaken. Adrien's expression isn't. He's been asking when Grandma Vivian's coming, Adrien says softly. He wants to show her his room. Oliver bounces. Is she here? I told her about my dinosaurs and my tutu and my big boy bed. I crouch, smoothing his hair. Not yet, sweetheart. Maybe soon. Over his head, Adrien and I share the look that has carried us through every secret, unspoken understanding, silent strategy. This house, our home, has always been a world apart from my mother's judgment. I'm done hiding. I say quietly. Adrien nods, taking my hand. Whatever happens, we face it together. The sound of an approaching engine cuts through the afternoon calm low, smooth, expensive. A black Mercedes glides to the curb like a vertic dot. Vivian Harrington steps out, heels clicking in measured rhythm up our walkway. Each step sounds like a countdown dot through the window. I watch her pause, evaluating everything. The porch light, the flower boxes Adrien built, the quiet street that would never meet her standards. Breathe, Adrien murmurs, squeezing my fingers. We'll handle it. Oliver hops excitedly. Is Grandma here now? Can I show her my dinosaurs? The doorbell chimes, one perfect, penetrating note. Adrien gives me a reassuring look and steps aside. Time to face the life I've hidden. I open the door. Nicole. Her tone is crisp, her posture immaculate, her expression unreadable. So I finally found you. She enters without invitation, eyes sweeping across the entryway like an appraiser telling worth. Family photos on the wall, our wedding, Oliver's first day of preschool catch her attention, and I see the flicker of realization. Grandma? Oliver charges forward, arms opened up. Vivian stiffens, but allows a brief, awkward pat on his head. Hello, Oliver, is it? Her gaze flicks back to me, accusation blazing beneath her composure. I had investigators searching half the East Coast, never imagining you'd be living in such a modest neighborhood. The word modest drips with distaste. I guide her toward the living room flooded with warm light. How long have you been hiding a husband and a child from me? She demands. Her eyes land on the wedding photo above the mantel. 6 years of marriage. I'm a boy 5. His name is Oliver, I say evenly. Yes, Adrien and I have been married for 6 years. She drifts along our bookshelf, brushing the spines of our novels with clinical fingertips. And this Adrien, what does he do that required such elaborate secrecy? Adrien steps forward, composed. I'm a software engineer at a nonprofit tech firm. Her lips curve in a faint, superior smile. I see, and you thought this was something to hide? You gave me reason to, I reply before she can continue, and for the first time I don't flinch. Memories of James flash through my mind, and the years of control she wielded through charm and criticism. Oliver tugs on my hand. Mommy, can I show Grandma my dinosaurs? And my tutu? Vivian's eyebrows arch. A tutu? For ballet class, Adrien explains calmly. He loves it. I see you're encouraging broad interests. Her words slice as neatly as ever. She surveys the room again, voice cool. All these years, you hid family photos, kept your child from knowing his grandmother. Imagine the damage. The accusation lands hard. For a heartbeat, guilt flickers, then vanishes under something stronger. Resolve. You've wasted your potential on this ordinary life, she continues, each syllable sharp as glass. Your father would be disappointed. I look around, the craftsman woodwork Adrien restored. Oliver's drawings proudly framed, the sofa worn soft from bedtime stories. And I realize how wrong she is. You're mistaken, I say quietly. Dad would have loved this home. And he would have loved them. Her lips compress. Nicole, the Harrington name means something. What will the foundation board think when they learn about this? Deception? There it is, her true fear, social exposure, not my happiness. I don't care what they think, I answer, Surprised by how true it feels, she studies me, eyes narrowing. Your father's trust was meant for a suitable life. Not this. The implication is clear. She used money as her weapon, but what she doesn't know, not yet, is that Dad's trust also carries something she can't control. My freedom. Before I can respond, Oliver appears clutching his teddy bear. This is Mr. Beans. He helps me when I'm scared. You can hold him if you want. For an instant, something human flickers behind her mask. Then it's gone. Adrien steps forward, voice steady. Mrs. Harrington, we've built a happy life. You're welcome to be part of it on our terms. Vivian's gaze travels between us, then down to Oliver, who still holds out the bear. Her face softens just enough for me to see uncertainty. I see I have much to consider, she says finally. And apparently, a grandson to know. I exhale. For years I thought secrecy was protection. Now I see it was a cage. You're welcome to stay for dinner, I say, surprising us both. If you'd like to know who we really are. Vivian hesitates, weighing optics against pride. Perhaps that would be informative. Oliver beams. I can show you my dinosaurs after dinner, Grandma. I have 17 and a half. As he leads her toward the kitchen, I glance at Adrien. His faint smile mirrors mine, a mixture of relief and readiness. The battle isn't over, but for the first time, we're fighting it in daylight. I wake before the sun. The house hushed except for Adrien's soft breathing and the faint hum of the refrigerator. Sleep never truly came. It skimmed the surface and broke apart with every memory of my mother's face at our table. By the time the first sliver of light edges across the kitchen, I've pulled a dusty banker's box from the hall closet and set it beside a mug of coffee. The label reads, in my father's careful print, House Files, Personal. I lift. The lid in the past rises like paper-scented air, rubber-banded letters. Old photographs, brittle envelopes, a leather folder with my father's initials stamped in gold. I sift slowly, methodically, until my fingers land on a thick manila envelope marked in fountain pen. Trust, Richard Harrington. Nicole? Adrien appears in the doorway, hair a sleepy halo, voice warm. You've been up long? Couldn't stop thinking. I pat the chair beside me. I think I found something. He sits, shoulders brushing mine as we slide out the documents. Legal language unfolds in crisp paragraphs. Page by page, we move faster, chasing a line I desperately hope is here. There, I whisper, tapping the clause with a fingertip that trembles. Irrevocable. Once funded, terms cannot be altered. Adrien leans closer, meaning she's been bluffing for years. A disbelieving laugh escapes me, light and sharp at once. She can't touch it. She can't touch me. He squeezes my hand, eyes brightening with quiet pride. So she has no financial leverage at all? None. The word lands like a key, turning in a lock I've carried since I was 25. In its wake, something I barely recognize floods me, not relief, not triumph, power. My own dot at 7 sharp, my courage holds. I scroll to a number I've known since childhood and press call. Margaret? It's Nicole. Nicole, dear. Margaret Wheeler's voice spills warmth, seaside vowels, and old New England grace. Vivian mentioned she'd reunited with you? I'm sure she did, I say, pacing the kitchen, the trust papers a neat fan on the table. I need to ask, what has she told people about me? A small silence. Your foundation work, your coastal lifestyle. The wryness in her tone is gentle but clear. Never a mention of a husband, and certainly no grandson. A beat. I suspected as much. Her words hit with soft force. My mother's standing has relied on my curated existence, all sheen, no truth. Thank you, I say. I may need your help. You have it, Margaret replies, without hesitation. I end the call and look at Adrien. Breakfast, I say. Here, today. An hour later, the doorbell rings. Vivian steps into our morning light as if entering a deposition, immaculate, guarded, prepared to win. I don't offer small talk or lists of artisanal jams. I've read Dad's trust. I say, sliding the papers across the table. You have no authority over my inheritance. For the first time in years, her composure stutters. A tiny tremor ripples through her manicured hand. That was never, she stops, recalibrates. That was not my primary concern. I didn't hide because I was ashamed, I answer, my voice steady in a way it has never been with her. I hid because you destroy what you can't control. You did it to James. You tried to do it again. Her mouth thins. I wanted what was best. You wanted what was yours, I say softly. Your vision. Your story. I feel Adrien at my shoulder, present, silent, an anchor. You will not use money or reputation to unsettle my family. A long pause stretches between us, filled with every unspoken argument we've tried to outrun. Then the whisper of small feet. Oliver appears in dinosaur pajamas, hair wild, eyes bright. Good morning, everybody, he declares, climbing into my lap like it's the most natural thing in the world. He peers at Vivian, solemn and curious. Did you see my dinosaurs yet, Grandma Vivian? Adrien reaches for the coffee pot. More coffee, Vivian? Yes, she says, almost grateful for the ordinary word. Thank you. Before I can frame the next sentence, my phone buzzes on the counter. Margaret, I press speaker. Morning, Margaret. Just checking that Vivian arrived safely, she says cheerfully, voice filling the kitchen like sunlight. Everyone at the club is thrilled you found each other and your lovely family. Vivian's eyes flicker to mine. We both hear the subtext. The narrative is changing with or without her permission. She's here, I say, with her grandson. When I end the call, something has shifted. Not a concession, but a softening, a hairline crack in the marble. Vivian watches Oliver chatter about his dinosaur parade, something complicated moving through her expression. Perhaps, she says carefully, I could stay a bit longer. To get to know Oliver. The words hover between us, fragile as blown glass. Not surrender. Not yet. But an opening. Oliver would love that, I say. We do pancakes on Sundays. He beams. Trek's pancakes taste better than regular ones, he informs her gravely. Because of the teeth. I catch Adrien's eye. For the first time since this began, the future doesn't feel like a tunnel. It feels like a path. 3 nights later, the kitchen is a pool of lamplight and paper. I fan documents into tidy constellations, trust clauses, old letters, photographs with dates inked on the back in my father's neat hand. Oliver's dinosaur nightlight throws a blue wash down the hallway. You're still mapping? Adrien sets chamomile tea by my elbow, fond, impressed. We won the first round, I say, tapping notes on a legal pad, but she pivot. She always does. I slide a letter across to him. Dad said her greatest fear was social insignificance. She hides it behind standards, but it's there. Adrien opens his laptop. Then we plan for that battlefield, too. His fingers hover. Also, I research family therapists who specialize in narcissistic family systems. Just in case we need a guide, I reach for his hand. 6 years ago, I chose secrecy. Now I choose preparation. The distinction lands, clean as a bell. Anything from Margaret? He asks. She's agreed to keep me looped into board calendars and galas. If Mom tries to spin, we'll know where and when. We work until the clock nods toward 1. When Adrien closes his laptop, his voice is gentle. Sleep, General, he teases. Tomorrow we start on a different front. He's right. Tomorrow is logistics and life. Oliver's birthday invitations, guest lists, boundary language clarified in writing. Not to weaponize a child's party, but to plant our flag in public space, our house. Our rules, our family. My phone buzzes with a midnight email. The subject line is a blade disguised as lace. Connecticut Arts Foundation Annual Gala, June 15th. Beneath it, a note in Vivian's cool hand. Time to introduce you properly to society. She shifted tactics, I say, setting the phone down with care. If the money won't move us, she use optics. She wants the narrative back, Adrien says mildly. We'll bring our own, I answer, unexpected calm settling over me. The war room can sleep. The strategy is no longer defense. It's definition. 2 weeks later, the oak table's covered in lists and ribbon instead of affidavits. Dinosaur plates, craft supplies, RSVP cards. And between them all, our family preservation plan. A shared document with color-coded sections, boundaries, allays, scripts, exit routes. The cake is confirmed, Adrien reports, typing notes on his laptop. Also, I blocked off the whole week. No emergencies. I nod. Margaret's been threading mentions of our life here through her circles. Not gossip, context. The old story is already unraveling. Unexpected ally, he says, approving. She truly loved my father, I reply. Maybe she's tired of curated myths. The phone rings again. Donna Taylor, preschool director. A pinch of dread tightens beneath my ribs. Nicole, I wanted to check with you, Donna says gently. Your mother's called 3 times this week asking about Oliver's schedule, his teachers, even classmates' parents. A beat of cold. You didn't, of course not. He's protected. You're the only contacts. But I thought you should know. When I hang up, my voice is flatter than I intend. She's trying to build a side door. Direct access. Adrien's jaw tightens. Then we fortify the perimeter. We move fast. We meet the school to update security notes. We brief the parents of Oliver's closest friends with as few details as dignity allows. We ask Margaret to attend the party, not as a sentinel, exactly, but as witness. This is not about escalation. It's about clarity. By the time the sky bruises to evening, the plan feels whole. Not a fortress. A framework. Everything's in place, Adrien says, standing beside me at the window. Our backyard glows soft in the last light. The swing set he built, the raised beds where Oliver plants gummy bears like seeds. We're ready. I lace my fingers with his. 3 months ago, I would have staged the living room and hidden the truth. Now, I look at the taped banner that reads Stegosaurus 5 and smile. Now I want the truth in every photograph. He kisses my temple. Then let's give him a party that looks exactly like his life. On the day itself, our yard becomes a small kingdom of cardboard caves and chalk footprint trails. Children shriek in the good way. Oliver is a cape-clad T-Rex, charging a herd of giggling herbivores through a hula hoop canyon. Parents chat over lemonade. The air smells like cake and cut grass and ordinary wonder. He looks so happy. Adrien murmurs, arm around my waist. He is, I say. And so am I. The doorbell rings at precisely 2. Punctuality sharpened into strategy. I open the door to Vivian in cream silk and 2 shadows behind her. My chest tightens. My parents, she announces with smooth delight. Eleanor and Joseph were desperate to see you. My grandmother's eyes are wet already. You look just like Richard, she whispers, reaching for me with hands softened by time. We've missed so much. It's a masterstroke. Not money. Not menace. Love, the kind I can't harden against without turning to stone myself. Please, come in, I manage. Adrien's in the yard. Oliver will be thrilled. Across the lawn, Adrien clocks the scene in a second and meets me halfway. Oliver perched on his hip like a question mark with curls. Who are they? Oliver breathes. Your great-grandparents, Adrien says, gentle. Grandpa Richard's mom and dad. Oliver lights up. From the pictures, the ones who live in the stars. My grandfather's face crumples. Yes, I say thickly. Those. As we walk them through the house, Margaret's laugh arcs over the crowd like a well-placed sail. She materializes in lavender and welcome, kissing my cheek. Nicole invited me, she tells Vivian, her smile sweet as tea and twice as strong. Couldn't miss seeing this beautiful family. Vivian's perfect smile wavers, just a breath. The narrative is no longer hers alone. Oliver returns wearing a vintage watch that drips down his wrist like a bracelet. Great-grandpa gave me a special watch, he announces. It belonged to Grandpa Richard when he was a boy. My grandfather nods, eyes bright. Been saving it for just the right wrist. Something loosens in my chest. For a moment, I glimpse the other timeline one where I didn't hide, where these hands held my baby 5 years ago. The grief is real, but so is the sweetness of now. Presents time. Adrien calls, and small dinosaurs stampede to the picnic table. Vivian stands, smoothing her linen with morale-gathering precision. Perhaps Oliver should open my gift first? I nod to Adrien. We knew she would make a move. Better to meet it in the light. Oliver tears cream paper and gold ribbon, not a child's wrap, but ceremony. Inside, a velvet box and a heavy envelope. He opens the box, a key. He asks, delighted, "It represents your future," Vivian announces to the lawn. I've established an education trust. Whitfield Academy, later Yale, the finest possibilities guaranteed. Parents shift, uncertain. They can feel the current, though they can't see the riverbed. I feel Adrien step beside me. Margaret drifts toward my grandparents. The choreography we set in place activates without a word. I place a hand on my son's shoulder. Mom, that's very generous, I say, voice clear but warm enough to be heard as gratitude, not war. We appreciate the thought. Her smile widens by a millimeter, victory taking shape, but we'll have to decline. The millimeter vanishes. Oliver's future belongs to his parents to plan, I continue. We've already set up his college fund. He'll attend the schools that fit him, whether that's Yale or someplace that loves dinosaur capes. Nicole, it's exactly the time, I say, and reach under the table for a long, carefully wrapped parcel. Because I have something for you. Surprise cracks her poise like a hairline in glass. For me? I nod and place it in her hands. She unwraps with ritual care. Brass gleams in the afternoon. Richard's telescope, she whispers, the world narrowing to the burnished tube in her palms. I hold up a leather journal, edges softened by 1,000 readings. And his notebooks. He taught me to find Orion on the back porch with this. I nod to the telescope. He wrote that he wanted me to see clearly, not further up the ladder, but further into the truth. My grandmother rises and lays a thin hand over the brass. He treasured this. He'd be glad it's guiding you still. My grandfather adds, voice rough with remembering, our boy never loved society pages. He loved constellations. A tremor passes visibly through Vivian, not rage this time, but something like grief, raw and unguarded. Around us, the energy loosens. The parents understand enough to breathe again. Margaret's nod reaches me like a relay baton. The story has moved. Cake now? Oliver pleads, leaning against Vivian's knee. Grandma gets the first piece. Laughter ripples, easy and human. Adrien arrives with the dinosaur cake, candles flaring small suns. As we sing, the telescope rests in Vivian's lap, and for once she does not correct the pitch or the tempo. She only watches her grandson's shining face and over it mine. When the cheering fades, Her gaze lifts and meets mine across the flicker of candles. There's a question there I've waited my whole life to hear. What if I learn a new way? I nod, just enough. On our terms, the afternoon loosens into stories and second slices. The boundary holds, not a wall, but a bright line. My mother sits among us, telescope gleaming, no longer the architect of the room, only a person in it. And for the first time, I feel the ground beneath my feet as something solid I chose. Not marble I was told to polish. 3 months later, the telescope gleams in our living room window like a living ember of memory. Sunlight catches the brass, reflecting tiny constellations across the wall. I pass it every morning on my way to work, and every morning it reminds me what changed that day in the yard. The sound of Oliver's laughter, the soft crack in my mother's armor, and the moment I realized I was finally free. The double life is over. No more rented apartments staged for appearances. No more separate mailing addresses or emergency explanations. I've sold the decoy flat, its soulless furniture and neutral art, now someone else's problem. The sale proceeds sit quietly in Oliver's college fund, earning interest in peace. My inbox is full of real things again. Nonprofit donor updates, birthday party photos from the neighborhood parents, invitations that feel like connection. Not obligation. The phone rings mid-morning. Mother, a year ago. The sight of her name on the screen would have quickened my pulse with dread. Now I just breathe once and answer. Good afternoon, Mom. Nicole. Her voice is brisk, but its edges are softer. I've been speaking with the Wheelers. They offered us their lake house for Thanksgiving, but there's an unusual hesitation, a small pause where her certainty should be. I thought perhaps it might be nice if we celebrated at your home. The words settle like warm tea on a cold morning. At my home, across the room, Adrien looks up from his laptop. I cover the mouthpiece and mouth silently. She wants to come here. His eyebrows lift, halfway between disbelief and a grin. I'd love that, I tell her. Oliver's been practicing his thank you speech for the mashed potatoes. Wonderful. Her voice steadies, gathering its old poise. I'll bring Richard's maple custard. He always insisted it wasn't Thanksgiving without it. After I hang up, Adrien crosses the room and wraps an arm around me. Well, he says, mock serious. We're hosting the Harrington Thanksgiving. I'll alert the media. I laugh, the sound light and unguarded. Who would have thought? A year ago, I was still pretending to be in Connecticut over the holidays. Remember our first Thanksgiving? He teases. Frozen dinners and a candle because you said you had to work late. I remember, I say softly. I was hiding in my mother's world, and you were waiting in mine. Now there's nothing to hide. That evening, as Oliver builds a dinosaur village on the living room rug, I glance at the telescope. Its polished brass catches the lamplight, steady and unwavering. This is what honesty feels like, not perfect, but clear. Thanksgiving morning dawns crisp and gold. The house smells of roasted rosemary and pie crust. Adrien bastes the turkey with the same precision he applies to software code, and Oliver runs circles around us wearing his paper pilgrim hat from preschool. The doorbell rings at noon. Grandma's early. Oliver shouts, sprinting for the door before I can wipe my hands. Vivian stands on the porch in a soft gray sweater, her hair perfectly arranged as always. But there's something new in her face, nervousness, maybe even humility. She carries a silver-wrapped box in one arm and, astonishingly, no entourage of opinions. Happy Thanksgiving, she says simply. Come in, I reply, taking her coat. The air between us feels tentative but breathable. She glances around the house. The refrigerator covered with Oliver's artwork, the family photos, the telescope catching light near the window. Instead of critique, she just nods once, as if acknowledging something that doesn't need to be said. I brought this, she says, handing me the box. It came from the foundation board. Inside the wrapping is a framed certificate. The text neatly embossed. The Richard Harrington Memorial Scholarship, established by Vivian and Nicole Harrington. Below, a mission line reads, "For students pursuing independent lives beyond family expectation. My breath catches." Vivian watches me, her expression composed but fragile. "Your father would have approved of this," she says, although he might have insisted on changing the font. I laugh, blinking hard. It's perfect. We'll hang it beside his telescope. Across the room, Oliver and Adrien finish arranging chairs. Oliver bounds over, clutching a bright green plastic dinosaur. "Grandma, come see my dinosaur village." The T-Rex is the daddy, the Triceratops is the mommy, and the baby Stegosaurus is adopted, but they love him anyway. Vivian crouches awkwardly, pearls glinting. "I would love to see," she says. Something loosens in my chest. The sentence is simple, but it's new. She would love to see Dot. As they walk toward the play area, Adrien slips an arm around my waist. "She's trying," he murmurs. "So am I reply Dot through the window. I see our neighbors crossing the street with a pie balanced carefully between them. I'd invited 3 families from Oliver's preschool, a blending of the old and new, the guarded and the genuine. Vivian doesn't flinch at the sight. She simply moves to the table, helping arrange the dishes as though she's belonged here all along. The afternoon hums with warmth and small talk. Margaret Wheeler calls midway through the meal, her voice as bright as the lake light. "Just wanted to wish the Harringtons and Coles a happy Thanksgiving," she says, "and to say how proud Richard would be." Vivian takes the phone, her tone soft. "Thank you, Margaret. You've always been part of the family." And maybe in her own way, she means it. Later, after dessert, I find Vivian standing near the window, gazing out at Oliver and Adrien playing tag in the yard. The brass telescope beside her reflects the last traces of sunset. "He's a wonderful boy," she says quietly. "So alive?" "Like Dad," I answer. She nods. "I never realized how much of Richard I could lose until I almost lost you." The confession comes out brittle, hesitant. I thought control was love. I step beside her, watching the orange light fade to violet. "Maybe it was the only way you knew." We stand in silence for a while. Then she places her hand lightly on the telescope. "He'd be proud of you," she murmurs. When she leaves that evening, she hugs me first briefly, awkwardly, but real. "Next year," she says, "perhaps you'll let me make the custard here." I smile. We'd like that. In the weeks that follow, life folds into a new rhythm. No secrets, no staging. Vivian sends Oliver postcards from her travels, each one illustrated with a constellation she's looked up through the telescope before bed. At work, my promotion to director of marketing becomes official. The email lands on a Tuesday, and for the first time, I don't hesitate before forwarding it to my mother. "Well done," she replies. "Your father would be insufferably proud." It makes me laugh because it's true. One Friday evening, as I'm packing up my laptop, my young colleague Bethany lingers by my desk. "My mom checks my bank statements," she blurts suddenly. She says she just wants to make sure I'm saving. Her voice carries that same mix of affection and quiet dread I used to know too well. I pause, then smile gently. "Can I tell you something?" She nods. "The hardest part isn't confronting them," I say. "It's admitting you have the right to live your own life, even if they never approve." Bethany exhales shakily. "And if they cut me off?" "Then you build a different kind of safety net," I answer. "One made of people who love you for who you are, not for what you prove." As she leaves, I feel something click into place. The scholarship, the mentoring, the honest dinners, they're all part of the same thing, rewriting the Harrington legacy from control to courage. Thanksgiving fades into December, and December into the quiet new year. The telescope remains where it's always been, polished by sunlight and fingerprints alike. Oliver keeps rearranging his constellations of dinosaurs beneath it, renaming them nightly: the mighty family, the good grandma, the T-Rex who learned to share. One evening, as I tuck him into bed, he points to the window. "Mommy, Grandpa's stars look happy." "They do," I whisper, pressing a kiss to his curls, "because we finally found our way home." Downstairs, Adrien waits on the couch, the lamp casting soft gold over his face. I curl beside him, resting my head on his shoulder. "No more hiding," I murmur. He kisses my hair. "No more hiding." Outside, the night sky glimmers through the telescope's lens, clear, infinite, and honest. The stars are still exactly where they've always been. I just have to stop pretending they were out of reach. And for the first time in my life, the light I see is entirely my own. Spring sunlight slants through the bay windows of our living room, catching on the brass telescope that once belonged to my father. Dust motes swirl like stars, golden and slow. Outside, the garden hums with bees, tulips open to the morning. The world feels steady again, honest, alive, and entirely my own dot. It's been nearly a year since that chaotic day when Oliver's innocent phone call exposed my secret life. Now, every corner of our home carries evidence of growth. The fake apartment is a memory sold off with its pristine furniture. The space it once occupied in my heart has been replaced with something richer: presence, not performance. Adrien's laughter drifts in from the backyard. I step out and find him helping Oliver build a tree fort beside the old maple. Sawdust clings to both of them, and the air smells of cedar and sunlight. Structural integrity test complete, Adrien declares, giving the ladder a playful shake. Oliver giggles, clutching a hammer too big for his hands. Grandma says she's bringing sandwiches. Grandma now means something entirely different. Vivian's visits have become steady but manageable, measured by choice, not fear. She no longer comments on our furniture or Oliver's attire. Instead, she asks questions, awkward but genuine ones, about the nonprofit's new initiatives and Adrien's projects. She even let Oliver teach her how to spot constellations through the telescope, mispronouncing every one but never correcting him. She's still Vivian Harrington polished, poised, occasionally impossible, but there's something human behind the veneer now. It's enough dot after lunch. She and I sit on the porch swing, watching Oliver chase butterflies across the lawn. The silence between us used to feel heavy, full of unsaid judgment. Now feels curious. "Do you ever miss Connecticut?" she asks at last. Sometimes, I admit, the ocean air. The way Dad used to wake up early to walk the cliffs, but not the pressure. She nods, eyes fixed on Oliver's small figure darting between flowers. I spent years believing control was the same as care. I thought if I could orchestrate your life, I could protect you from disappointment. I study her face, still elegant, but softened by something I've never seen before: regret. "You can't protect someone from living," I say gently. "You can only walk beside them when they do." Her lips tremble in what might be the beginning of a smile. Perhaps I'm learning that one telescope at a time. We sit together, listening to Oliver's delighted squeals until the sunlight begins to fade. For the first time, I realize I'm not waiting for her to leave. I'm simply enjoying the moment. That summer, the Richard Harrington Memorial Scholarship awards its first recipient, a young artist named Lena, who turned down a corporate law path to study illustration. Vivian stands beside me on stage at the ceremony, poised as always, but when she leans toward the microphone, her words surprise everyone. My late husband believed vision matters most not what society calls success, but the courage to see clearly. "My daughter taught me that truth," she says, turning toward me. "And this scholarship is for those who dare to live authentically." Applause fills the hall. I meet her eyes, and for once, there's nothing to hide behind. Only pride shared and unguarded. Afterward, Oliver climbs onto the empty podium, waving to the crowd. "Mommy's the boss now," he shouts. The audience laughs. Vivian claps first. That night, as we walk home beneath the city lights, Adrien slips his arm around my shoulders. "So," he teases, "the board finally knows you're not a ghost wife with a mysterious second address." "Progress," I say, smiling. "Transparent living at last." He kisses my forehead. Transparent, but still luminous. Autumn arrives with its crisp air and copper leaves. Life is quieter now, balanced. On weekends, we hike or host dinners that include both friends and family. Vivian joins us occasionally, always punctual, sometimes awkward, but never cruel. She's learning boundaries. I'm learning forgiveness. One Sunday evening, Oliver curls beside me on the couch, his head heavy against my arm. "Mom," he murmurs sleepily, "is Grandma going to live with us someday?" I brush a curl from his forehead. "No, sweetheart. Grandma has her own home. We visit each other, and that's what keeps us happy." He nods drowsily. "Okay, because I like her stories now." "I do too," I whisper. And I mean it. Months later, the phone rings again, Vivian's number. But this time, it isn't about control or planning. "I wanted to tell you," she says, her tone warm. "I've joined the Foundation's mentorship program, helping women start over after family estrangement. I think you'd be proud." For a long moment, I can't speak. The woman who once weaponized reputation now uses it to help others reclaim their lives. "I am proud," I say finally. "Very." When we hang up, I glance at the telescope glinting near the window. It has become our family's compass constant, guiding, always pointing toward clarity. I realize now that Dad's legacy isn't the brass instrument itself, but what it represents, the courage to look beyond what's comfortable and see what's true. The following Thanksgiving, our table stretches to fit everyone, friends, neighbors, even the Wheelers from Connecticut. Vivian sits between Oliver and Margaret, correcting his spelling on pterodactyl, while Margaret pours wine. The scholarship certificate hangs on the wall behind them, gleaming beside the telescope. As dessert arrives, Oliver clinks his spoon against his glass. "I want to make a toast," he announces. We all turn, amused. "To Mommy, who tells the truth. To Daddy, who builds things. To Grandma, who looks at stars." The room fills with laughter and applause, but my throat tightens with something deeper recognition, maybe even grace. Adrien squeezes my hand under the table. "He's got your words," he whispers. I smile through tears, "and your courage." Outside, the first snow begins to fall, soft against the windows. The telescope catches the reflection of the firelight, glowing like a promise. For years, I lived in fragments, half daughter, half mother, half truth. Now, the pieces fit. The home I built no longer hides anything. The woman I've become no longer apologizes for existing. And the family I feared would shatter has somehow remade itself stronger. As the evening drifts into laughter and candlelight, I lift my glass toward the telescope. "To Dad," I whisper, "for teaching us how to see." The stars shimmer through the frosted window, and for the first time, I feel their light not as a reminder of distance, but of arrival proof that even after years of hiding, you can still find your way home. 2 years later, the sound of rain patters gently against the windows of my office at the nonprofit. I glance up from a stack of reports to the framed photo on my desk. Oliver, 7 now, grinning with missing front teeth, holding the brass telescope like a treasure. Behind him in the photo, Vivian stands with one hand on his shoulder, her posture still regal, but her smile genuine. Every time I see that image, I'm reminded of the impossible journey that led us here, from deception and fear to quiet understanding. A soft knock breaks my reverie. Nicole? My assistant peeks in. The board's ready for you. They want to discuss your proposal for the new mentorship initiative. I smile, sliding the photo aside. Let's give them something worth funding. In the boardroom, a dozen faces turn as I enter. Charts glow on the projector, but the story behind them is what matters. This program, I begin, isn't just about career development. It's about helping women rebuild their lives after leaving toxic family structures or emotional manipulation. We teach them financial independence, emotional resilience, and the courage to live authentically. No masks, no lies. The room grows silent as I continue. I know what it feels like to hide your truth out of fear. And I know what freedom feels like when you stop. When the vote comes, it's unanimous. The Authentic Futures Initiative is approved, funded by a partnership between our nonprofit and the Adrien Harrington Memorial Scholarship Foundation, the very organization my mother once used for social power. Now it's a lifeline. That evening, I walk home through the rain, umbrella tapping in rhythm with my thoughts. Adrien meets me at the door, a towel in one hand, a glass of wine in the other. How'd it go? They approved it, I say, letting out a long breath. Fully funded. His grin is pure pride. Of course they did. You've turned your story into strength. I hang up my coat, breathing in the familiar scent of our home, lemon cleaner, crayons, and something baking. Oliver appears from the kitchen, flour on his nose. Grandma says cookies are like math, he announces seriously. You can't just add more sugar because you feel like it. I laugh. Sounds like she's learning moderation. Vivian emerges a moment later, holding a tray of slightly uneven cookies. He insisted on dinosaurs, she says, setting them down. Triceratops and T-Rex, if I've got it right. You did, Oliver says proudly, handing her a misshapen cookie. For helping me not burn them? She takes it and eats it without hesitation. For a woman who once avoided carbs as if they were moral failings, it's a small miracle. Later that night. After Oliver's asleep, I find my mother in the living room, staring at the telescope again. Do you ever use it? She asks quietly. Sometimes, I admit. Mostly with Oliver. He likes finding the constellations Dad taught me. Her reflection in the glass looks older now, softer. Your father once told me I looked at people like they were projects, she says. I suppose I did the same with you. You loved me the only way you knew how, I reply gently. Vivian turns, emotion flickering in her eyes. And you loved me enough to stop letting me. The silence that follows isn't heavy. It's healing. When she leaves for the night, she hugs me, a simple, real hug, not the post kind for charity galas. I'll see you next week, she says, and for once it's a promise, not a demand. Months later, the first group of women graduates from the Authentic Futures Initiative. I stand on stage beside Margaret and Vivian, an unlikely trio, as we hand out certificates. One of the graduates, a young mother named Celeste, steps up to the podium. When I first came here, she says, voice trembling, I was hiding from a family that told me I wasn't enough unless I was perfect. But this program taught me that being enough has nothing to do with perfection. It's about being real. Applause swells through the hall. I glance at my mother. She's clapping, eyes glistening. When the event ends, Vivian pulls me aside. You're doing what your father dreamed of, she whispers. Creating something that outlives us both. That night, after everyone's asleep, I step outside with a blanket and a telescope. The air is crisp, stars sharp against the indigo sky. I aim the lens toward the familiar constellation my father once showed me, Cassiopeia. The Queen Oliver joins me barefoot, sleepy-eyed. Can I look? I lift him onto the stool. He peers through the scope, gasping softly. It's like diamonds on black velvet. I smile. That's exactly how your grandpa described it. He turns to me, expression thoughtful. Mom, are you happy now? The question is simple but strikes deep. Yes, I say. Completely. Even with Grandma? I laugh softly. Especially with Grandma. She's learning to see stars too. He grins, leaning against me. Together we stare at the sky, 3 generations linked by love, truth, and one brass telescope that once symbolized control, now guiding us toward freedom. Years will pass. Oliver will outgrow his dinosaur pajamas. Vivian's hands will tremble a little more, and this house will echo with new stories. But the legacy we've built of truth, courage, and connection will remain. I'll tell him one day how it all began, with a secret life, a broken vase, and a woman who finally decided to stop running, and maybe, when he's older, he'll stand beneath the same stars with someone he loves and say, "My mom taught me that honesty is the bravest kind of inheritance." For now, we just watch the night sky together, the telescope glinting softly beside us, no longer a symbol of distance, but of vision. The past is over. The hiding is done. And the story that began with fear ends at last in light.